Okay, well, that's okay. Thank you for being here. I am so excited to be here with you all. I am, in case you don't know who I am Aurora. I am the founder of Aura, Hypnosis Healing Technique, and it's short for Angelic Universal Regression Alchemy. It is a beautiful healing technique in case you want to check that out. We do have a playlist for Aura in our section for playlists. Now I am this is part of the series so I'm going to be paying attention to you all here and then talking at the same time. We do have Lily in chat though, hanging around. And this will be just me talking, answering some questions. And if you've seen the title, it's a pretty big title, right? The Illuminati and Superstars value of souls and walk-in. So we had talked about how we wanted to come up with different ways where we can communicate more of a direct subject where it's not a lot of subjects into one, so this is going to be maybe a 30-minute session or less, talking about that title and different things that are part of this. And this thought that really felt that this would complement the Laura Eisenhower interview, which by the way was loved it, was phenomenal. She did such a beautiful job with it. And I realized it yesterday as I was reading some beautiful comments. I was like, wait a minute. I think that was my first official interview from anyone. So that was such an honor to have, Laura herself. In case you're not familiar with her, she is a alchemist and she is the granddaughter of Eisenhower, the ex-president, as well as she tells her story, but she was one of those people that when they were trying to I'll call it harvest, recruit people to the moon. She was one of those, and then she basically rejected that and didn't go. And there, as we know, there is a civilization on the moon living there without even realizing that, thinking that that something happened to Earth, and for whatever reason, they think that we're no longer here and they have to live there. So she was quite glad that she didn't accept that. Well, so that's a little bit about Laura. In case you haven't checked out that interview, check it out. It really leads into this one so that we could go more into detail of this specific topic. It was very significant to talk about it in this time and space. Okay, thank you. Now, I'm going to start it off, and you all, if you have any questions on it, you can definitely feel free, but basically it's going to have, thank you, Emily says she loved that interview, and thank you everyone for being here. So I'm really, really loving these short, direct clips that we'll be having. Okay, and then you could also find me, in case you're new to me, to my channel, you can find me at risingphoenixaurora.com. And if you want to support these videos, though, you don't have to. There is a tier in my Patreon account that you can support for $4. And these channelings, these messages will be coming out at least once or twice a week. Also, update for tomorrow. I realize we do have our retreat going on. We will not be having the retreat. We will not be having the live channeling tomorrow. So just wanted to give this to you all instead, since I won't be here, since we'll be busy learning how to about the 20 students that we have there will be learning how to become Aura and Raw Reiki Angelic Alchemy Healing certified. Okay, well, here we go. So let's talk about this topic. All right. Good, we have a good amount watching. And then again, if you have any questions, definitely add them here and I'll be paying attention to them. Okay. Whew, this is a tough topic. And, this is a topic that is quite sensitive. And as the majority of you know, I do channel the Raw. So this will be information, the Raw Collective, that they have given me, that we are in this time and space able to share with you all. Okay. Now, as we know with superstars, so let's talk about superstars first. Superstars, I view them as equals to us, and everyone is equal to me, no matter how, say, popular or wealthy they are. And many of them are quite beautiful. There is, the majority of them will be heightened souls, old souls, star children, star people. They will be healers like us as well, who are very sensitive, intuitive. They just, some of them might already be knowing this. Some of them are learning this currently. Now, with this is that that's why you experience a lot of them being extra sensitive, like when they are there and they get strayed from the path by perhaps drugs and money and all these different things, because this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to control their influence to the collective in ensuring that they perhaps go in a free will path which won't be so organic and positive for them. Though at times, as we have talked before, there can be contracts that would lead you in a path of that manner, that would be a positive organic contract that would be catalyzing for you and would help you transform from it. And first you must see the opposite of one side before you see the beautiful benevolent brightness of what's to come, right? So that's why contracts would be there. Now, some of them you have seen throughout time, even like the rock stars, the singers, and actors, they commit suicide. And and the reason why is, one of the reasons why, there can be several, and something that for you to be familiar with me is that I look at both at the positive and the negative. And the negative is more of like in a way of awareness, a way to help you uplift yourself and help you be a sovereign being, right? That is the way I'm looking at it, where we can help empower one another as equalness. Now, we have talked about these different things throughout our different channels about the negative technologies out there and so on. So specifically what we are talking about today is the different forms that they would be targeted throughout time as they come up and they say they get fame light on them. They will be placed distractions upon their lives. Specifically, we got the Illuminati. Now, why is it that they would be very, very, very interested in these groups of people? Is because, again, what we talked about, they carry a stronger light. They're here to awaken and enlighten people, bring forth catalyzing messages. So the more that they can astray them, the less that could be forth, and the less that humanity will awaken. For they have a strong hold. If you think about it, they have a strong following from their fans. They perhaps have wealth from the different projects that they have gone through. So this is a form that they would target, so that make sure that they, again, do the opposite of what's in reality, what their mission is to bring forth. I do have an aura coming up probably in 3 more. It's going to be the 3rd one from now, where we're talking about what the soul goes through to be here, and how some of these frequencies are targeted even from the beginning, even before it even enters into the womb. So you definitely want to check that out. And it will be talking about basically the soul process of when the infant soul comes into the mother's womb. So take a look at that. It would be titled in some form like that. Okay. Now, with that, as we know, we hear as healers that we are, as light workers. I know there was the interview that I recently placed about the matrix. There's the AI and the organic matrix. We can operate again in the organic or the AI matrix. Now, those of us who are operating in an organic matrix system, where we're trying to stay true to our hearts, have our negative ego balanced, working from a beautiful love frequency, will be at times tempted. Within that interview that we talked about with the matrix, how to stay unplugged, one of the most recent ones, the recent testimony I put up, she talked about how for 1 minute she was told that she had the opportunity to choose, that if she chose, she could choose to have wealth and money if she would go this path and this would come to her. And obviously she chose it not. She's like, oh no, what is this? So that is what some of the negative ties that come with money formation, a ties to the superstars, is that they would have to carry. So there's many different forms. Now there could be aiding the collective and helping evolve from the money, and the blood that's behind it, the control, the programming that's behind the money itself. Now their goal is, the minute that they come in, is what the Raw has told me, is like when they're even teenagers, the Illuminati is already trying to recruit them. So they are trying to basically have them align with their black magic rituals that they do. Now with this is that I've seen, say, children from networks, won't say any names, where when you pay attention to their movie perhaps that they did at one point, and you're looking into their eyes, and their soul is still very much intact, still there. You can, because as we know, the eyes are the window to the soul, because what happens is when you look into the person's eye, you go into their soul tunnel, and then you look deep, finding the heart center. That's because that's where the soul is, within the heart. Okay. Now, and then I'll see them, say, in another movie that they're making, say a second movie, and all of a sudden when you look into their eyes, it seems like there's an emptiness there. So then that is how we can register, oh, what happened? And I'm always asking questions, to the Raw, what would happen in that circumstance? And then they showed me, that at some point they got compromised by the Illuminati, the Kabbalah. Now, so this is important right now in this time and space, and why it is important, because they hold a great strength, as we talked about, in the collective. So if we reach out to, the more reach out, the more that they listen, they awaken. I'm sure there is plenty of superstars who are listening to different channels, different videos out there that are talking about awareness. Or we also have, like, undercover communications like Q, and different forms like that they are aware of, and they're trying to help. So let's see. So with that, going into the dark rituals that they would do, as you know, we are, as with the Aura hypnosis healing technique, we do focus on helping reptilian consciousness remove, and entities remove implants and so on, be removed from people. Now what happens is, when they go through this type of black magic ritual with the Illuminati, is that they could be selling their soul away, they could be binding their soul, though every soul is redeemable. As we always teach, everything is possible. And some of them could even have, what they would do is that, in the interview I had with Laura Eisenhower, we talked about how at the end she asked me that beautiful question, what was the most catalyzing significant thing that happened to me that led me in this path. And I talked about that dream that I was shown by the Raw Collective, how there was a little girl soul in a box. Now, to go to further explain this, is that is how souls who have been compromised, who have been replaced, or and so on, would be in a black box type of energy, locked away. Now, with that, there are ways to unbind it. They would come up with a contract with that, and that would be a negative contract. So all contracts are unbreakable, and so long as you work with your higher self, you're working with benevolent beings like the Elohim, the angelics would be ones that would help you remove yourself from a negative contract like that. As you all know, I work with different times, and then what they're saying is, right now is the time to focus energy on this particular infringement, because this can even just happen not just to superstars. This could happen to some of the healers that are coming up, because you could say, in a sense, healers that have YouTube channels that are becoming popular or well known, they could be seen as the superstars for the spiritual community. So this is something that is for both sides, not just, you know, the famous superstars from the movies and singers. This is for you all as well. Okay, let's see what else we want to talk about. Then let me see what questions you guys have. Now, going back to that, when you look at on someone's soul, then you recognizing and learning how to read. When you look into someone's eyes, how does that soul feel? Pay attention to the actual intent and chord behind it. What energy is behind those eyes? What kind of soul is behind that? And being aware of it. Okay, we talked also about with Laura. We talked about being compromised. Now, there's a difference between being compromised and then being infringement. Infringement is when you are being given false information through perhaps the towers that we talked about, the negative technology, the waves that are being sent, constantly sending false light information. That is a way. Then there is also a way that the infringement could be where, you know, there are energies within you that you have yet to heal and balance, like the entities, the implants that are keeping part of that. Okay, so there's many types of infringement, and those are some of the specific ones, the general ones. And then there is being compromised. A person who is compromised would be a person that actually had a replacement of a soul, or they're there, but they're kind of locked away in the box, how we talked about. Okay, so there's differences. There's walk-ins, there's positive walk-ins, there's walk-ins who have been aligned with your positive timeline that you have agreed upon with your higher self, or the being's higher self that's going to come in. That is a positive walk-in, and that's divinely set up at times, most of the time before you're even born, or sometimes throughout the times of your creational, whatever it is that you're evolving into, that you would need a walk-in for. Okay, so there's those, and then there's negative walk-ins that would be more of an infringement of a forceful type of, where you are conscious in a non-conscious manner, thinking perhaps you feel like at your lowest, and you're like, I feel like I can't be here anymore. You know, get me out of here. Somebody, you know, get me out of here. So those could be like, you have to be very careful what you wish for, what you call for, because there could be a negative entity out there that would say, oh yes, I'll get you out of there very easily, and there could be a negative contract there created that would be without you realizing it. So it's very important to value life and value the souls and the worth of the souls. Again, we talked about that with Laura. The souls are one of the greatest value in this creation itself, because they are source energy. We are beautiful, and it is it's powerful. The souls are powerful. They can power many energies out there because they are star energy, source energy. Okay, so let's see. Let me see if there's anything else we want to add on that. So yes, those are both negative and positive ways that walk-ins can occur. Now, a negative walk-in, you would be able to sense a person, like their frequency would feel odd to you, feel uncomfortable. It would feel like perhaps even like like you're choking, like around their energy, or like the creeps. You pay attention to those different sensations that are trying to tell you. When you're watching perhaps a video and you hear someone talking, pay attention to how they feel. How does their soul feel? How does it align to your heart? And heart discern everything. It's significant. Okay. So a lot of these superstars right now, their souls are in a or even some of these light workers who chose a path of a free will where they weren't going on their organic timeline. They're locked away in these box sorts of manners, and their soul families and their higher selves are trying to aid them to recover it back into the vessel. Okay, so let's see what other questions you guys have before I continue talking. Strong subject, but I think it's very important that we understand the value and the significance to our souls and how treasured they are. We are such a beautiful piece of creation. Okay. All right. Okay, Truth Seeker. Thanks for putting question in front of it, so I find it easier. Let's see. Can you elaborate on the Galactic War you talked about? Who is fighting whom? Okay, so let's see whatever the raw will give me. So we talked about it briefly with Laura, but we'll go a little more detail. We talked about how there's that, how much they are trying to keep us here, the little that is holding on, the darkness that's trying to hold on to the programming, and how they are really overstepping some of our free will rights and something that we're not agreeing to, like the different viruses that we talked about, and the ones that are being dropped through different forms in the air, and as well as chemical chemicals, chemtrails through the air, negative weather systems. And we are in a time and space where we're trying to bring forth more and more light. So the more light we bring, the more that they try to say be the opposition to that, right? So that you could understand a brief summary there. So what's occurring is that it's the Galactics up there, the Union, some might call it the Light Confederation of Light, but what I call is the Raw Collective, the Galactics. Though there's many different councils, so you have many different forms of councils within it, and they are trying to keep us protected and within the positive timeline. Something that Laura briefly talked about was how there's that wars where we're trying to keep it in a positive timeline, and then there's that counter where they're trying to change it and infringe upon it and change it into negative. But the more that we talk about this kind of awareness, the more that we understand and the more that we become aware, the less that they have more power in doing so. So this is why it's so significant too. When we speak of this, and I really love how we are talking about this, because we're talking about an awareness where there's no fear intended or needed or behind it. It's all about inspiring one another to be out there and speaking this equalness of love and sovereignty. So that's what's going on out there. It looks like it is slowing down. The energies are mellowing out, are balancing out. In that time and space where I had posted here, if you want to keep track of what's going on, at times if I can't make a video, I will in the community here under our YouTube, also click the bell button at the top right. It will notify you as soon as I am live. And you keep track of the community. I will post things there if you're feeling energetically something is off, you're trying to figure it out. Majority of the time I do post, what is going on so that I can aid you all greatly. Now, let's see what else about the Galactic Wars. Now, from time to time, this happens, and then there's also some of those from one of the last Aura hypnosis where we talked about the 12 elders and how there was positive reptilians that were, because of the ripple that's occurring, and they're now remembering their light within them. This is also part of it. Some of these Galactic Wars where they're trying to escape, and then they were being held back, and so there's going to be that time frame, with change. There has to be at times destruction. There has to be when you are, say you buy a house and you have an old room and it's falling apart, right? This is going on right now. Our system, we're looking for it to break it apart, to help it fall apart, so that we can rebuild it renewed with with leaders and energies once we enter into the 5D of working within a heart space. Okay, let's see what else. Okay. Now, then we are looking at, so hopefully I was able to answer that significantly enough there for you, so you understand. Let's see what other question. Question, what to do 5 years after being sealed? I don't understand that. Maybe you could write it down somewhere later, at the bottom, explaining more. Okay. It's easier too if you all place it with a question. That way I can find the questions. Okay, so Natalie Sweet's asking about the Illuminati. Can they replace without consent or awareness of the individual? It can if you match that. They can if you match that frequency, that it would allow for a replacement or a binding of the soul. Yes, it can. So it's all about that frequency, and that's what we teach. Have more joy like a child. Honor yourself, love yourself, self-love, respect. This world is so beautiful, and yet we forget how the beauties of it. We get lost in the programming, we get lost in the pain and the trauma, which it is there. The pain and trauma is there. However, when we look, not staying focused there, thinking of the other beauties in this world, we chose to be here because it is a beauty. It's a beauty. It's a great beauty. So these are things that bring you back. Okay. So we talked about it earlier, though, with this question, how they can unconsciously do the negative contract. Okay. And then the question might be, okay, so if this happened throughout anyone out there, then how is it that you regain that soul back and no longer? And the goal would be, first of all, you would need to work with strong 12-dimensional, 11-dimensional beings like Elohim, angels, fire element angels. Remember that that Luciferian agenda is inaccurate. Every race, of course, has negative and positive, but not all angels are negative. Like Luciferian, Lucifer. We've talked about him prior, also through Laura. He is forced to bring forth us out of the dark into the light. So when you understand this, then you understand that the Luciferian is just tainted, just like they tainted Isis, the name Isis, because what the main focus is, we didn't get into this much detail with Laura, but the reason why they would name a terrorist group Isis is because Isis, we know, was one of the most strong, powerful pharaoh, divine feminine, which was a fractal of the divine mother incarnated upon earth. Now with that, she left her beautiful essence, her energy behind, pieces of her throughout existence, history, and within us. So what better way to taint this and to cause an imbalance of what she left so beautifully for us, and empowerment and sovereignty on all these beauties of the beautiful alchemist that she was, than to create a terrorist group that's causing this harm, that is controlled by them, and then using all that negative energy again as part of that dark rituals, using all that dark energy to focus as a collective onto the Illuminati, the ISIS name. So now you've got something that's so divinely beautiful tainted it with something so vile, right? So that's the same thing they did. They placed it between into people who are bringing forth awareness and light workers. They made sure that they named the Luciferian agenda that, so that again they could taint. So through telepathy, through negative technology forms, towers, they put that implant, that type of information into them, so that when they started talking about these black rituals, these black magic rituals, that they would name it after Lucifer, again tainting his name, causing fear. This is fear-based. It's interesting how people really confuse awareness with fear-based, but that is fear-based. That itself would be fear-based. They create it into something that is build up of fear, and then they masked it. So it is their black magic energies that they're using to feed their agendas, and they masked it with a beautiful name like that, and then making us believe that it's Lucifer who's in charge of these black magics, which is quite incorrect. As we know, they changed the whole, they changed the whole Bible around. So that's one of the other things that they did because of that purpose. So now we have the Luciferian energies being sent when it's actually their black magic, not Lucifer. For Lucifer is here to help us actually remove from that very black magic. He would be one that you'd be working with to remove yourself from there and also bring your soul back. Isn't that, it's quite genius, but intense. So then recognizing what is truly is created from a heart again and what is not, and some of these misconceptions. Okay, we're coming to an end. I said it was only going to be a couple minutes and we're past that already. So okay, let's see what if I could answer one or two more questions and we'll go from there. Question: are there any celebrities or public figures currently that are positive, not under a negative influence, and how can we tell the difference? Yes, so there definitely is. There is, and a lot of them are, from what the Raw again tells me, is that they're in hiding. So they're aware of these situations and the Illuminati control and all that. They're obviously aware of it. They're in there, right? They're in that industry, but they are also in a formation of like kind of like a caterpillar in its shell. What is that name? Chrysalis formation, and they are waiting perhaps for a time where they can actually start helping, or they're doing it in subtle ways where you're not, they're not being quite targeted, like how we talked about different ways to help the children, how to help the teenagers coming up who might suffer from emotional imbalances and want to commit suicide because they're just so sensitive and gifted. So things like that. So pay attention to the subtle ways. Look at, for example, is there a superstar there that would spend $3 million on shoes? Or is this a superstar that would be operating from a heart frequency? Though I'm sure they have tons of money. However, the most humbled superstars that, would not spend that much kind of money on a pair of shoes. So remembering looking at who's humble, who's understanding, and then people who are humbled like that and who are out there in a sort of way trying to help humanity would be definitely ones that are awakening or are awakened and are aware of the control and are trying to find in their safe way, how to bring forth help to humanity. Good question. Thank you. Okay. So how can replace a soul? I'll see what I can answer. Are they just reprogramming it? So there is a harvesting. We talked about that with Laura. There could be a harvesting of a soul. I can't go too much into that, but basically, and then your question was, is that the same that will come back after their death with their baggage? Is that the same that will come back after their death with their baggage? So I think I understand your question. So I think that the soul that was replaced, whenever it releases itself from that hold, or sometimes there still can be in that box hold and incarnate, yes, and they would come back with lots of baggage and lots of control and a form of spy for them. So when you are releasing yourself from that control and infringement, compromised, and you're releasing yourself from that hold. Okay. Now I'm going to try to stick to the subject, see if there's any other questions. I know some of you guys have other questions. All right, let's see if there's one more, and then we're going to end it. Yeah. So it looks like that is, pretty much it as far as your questions. And it's been very, very humbling to be here, in great awareness and love and understanding that even if a soul has been compromised, there's always a possibility for everything. And the more that we stand here in love and support and belief for one another, for others, is the more that we bring forth this belief in this fruition and creation of it. Okay. So when Truth Seeker says, do the Raw recommend a vegan or vegetarian diet? They recommend both. Transitioning to a vegan would be ideal, because that way you're not taking life into you through different forms. Now, again, it's whatever feels right for you, but typically they will recommend, because all life is precious, right? Through the Raw, we treat everything as equalness and honor and respect. Okay. Love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Hope you all enjoy these specific topics. We have another one coming up where we're going to talk about genders. So perhaps the title will be Why Am I Gay? And different forms and why a person would be gay. I think it's really beautiful and empowering to talk about that in the future for those who are, have gone through these struggles of throughout, humanity, religion, family oppressing them, and the different spiritual basis to that. So keep an eye on that. And then we also have the one you guys voted on, Kundalini Rising. That will be coming up most likely next week, since I will be busy at the retreat. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. I love you with all that I am. I honor you. I respect you. And I thank you. Thank you. Please comment, share this video, and subscribe. Blessings, and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your weekend.